Welcome back, everyone. I'm so glad you're here with us today. I'm Emma, and as always, I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Jake. Hey, Jake, how are you doing?
Hey, Emma. I'm doing really well, thanks. A little tired. I stayed up way too late last night, but honestly, that's kind of fitting for what we're talking about today, because younger me did that constantly and never learned his lesson.
Oh, that's such a perfect way to lead into today's topic. So everyone, today we are talking about something really personal and really thought-provoking, and that means something that makes you think deeply. We're talking about the advice you would give to your younger self. What would you say? What do you wish you had known earlier in life?
Yeah, and I think what makes this topic so interesting is that everyone has an answer. Like, nobody gets to a certain age and thinks, nope, I did everything perfectly. We all have those moments where we look back and go, oh, I really wish I had handled that differently.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter if you're 25 or 55, there's always something. So Jake, let's just dive right in. If you could go back and talk to teenage Jake, what's the very first thing you would say to him?
Oh, wow. Okay. The very first thing, I think I would say, stop trying so hard to fit in. I spent so much energy in my teenage years trying to be like everyone else, trying to wear the right clothes, listen to the right music, say the right things, and it was exhausting. It was genuinely exhausting.
That's so relatable. I think so many people feel that way. There's this pressure, especially when you're young, to conform, to go along with the crowd, to not stand out, and it can be really overwhelming.
Exactly. And the ironic thing, ironic meaning the opposite of what you'd expect, is that the people I admired most were actually the ones who didn't try to fit in at all. They were just themselves, completely comfortable in their own skin, and everyone loved them for it.
Right. Being authentic, being genuinely yourself, is actually more attractive to people than trying to perform a version of yourself that you think others want to see. I wish someone had told me that more clearly when I was younger.
Did you struggle with that too, the whole fitting in thing?
Oh, absolutely. I was quite shy as a teenager, actually. People who know me now find that hard to believe because I talk for a living. But I really was. I would avoid raising my hand in class even when I knew the answer, just because I was scared of being judged.
That's fascinating, Emma. And honestly, I think that connects to something I'd also tell my younger self. Stop being so afraid of being wrong. Like, the fear of making mistakes held me back in so many ways. In school, in friendships, in trying new things.
Yes, and this is actually something that's really relevant for language learners too, because so many people hesitate to speak in English or any new language because they're terrified of making a mistake or sounding silly.
Which is completely understandable, but also kind of counterproductive, meaning it actually works against your goal. You only get better by doing, by trying, by sometimes getting it wrong and then correcting yourself.
Totally. You learn so much more from your mistakes than from your successes. I genuinely believe that. So, Jake, what else would you tell younger you? Were there any big life decisions where you think, I wish I'd gone the other way?
Yeah, there is one that comes to mind pretty quickly. I would tell myself to travel more when I was young and had fewer responsibilities. I had so many opportunities to go abroad, to live in different countries, and I kept putting it off, postponing it, because I thought, well, there'll be time for that later.
And was there?
Well, sort of. I mean, I did eventually travel, and I'm so glad I did. But it's different when you're young. You're more flexible, you're more open, you have less to lose in a way. There's this phrase, youth is wasted on the young, and I used to roll my eyes at it, but now I completely get it.
Oh, I love that expression. Youth is wasted on the young. It basically means that young people have all this energy and freedom, but don't fully appreciate it, while older people appreciate it, but no longer have it. It's a little sad when you think about it.
A little sad, yeah, but also kind of motivating. Like, it reminds you to appreciate where you are right now, because future you might look back and wish you'd enjoyed this moment more.
That's a really lovely way to flip it. Instead of feeling regret, use it as motivation to be more present, more aware, and engaged in the current moment. I like that.
Exactly. And speaking of being present, I'd also tell my younger self to put the phone down more. I know, that sounds like something a grandparent would say.
Just a little bit, yes.
But seriously, even back when I was a teenager and smartphones were just becoming a thing, I got sucked in immediately. Social media, endless scrolling, I think it affected my attention span, my ability to just sit with my thoughts and be bored in a healthy way.
Oh, being bored in a healthy way. I love that phrasing. Because there's real value in boredom, isn't there? When you're bored, your mind wanders, and that's actually when a lot of creative thinking happens. When you're constantly stimulated, constantly fed new content, your brain never gets that rest.
Completely agree. And I think younger generations today are growing up with even more of that pressure, with TikTok and everything moving so fast. I genuinely feel for them. It's a tough environment to grow up in.
It really is. Okay, I want to switch gears a little bit, meaning I want to move to a slightly different angle on the same topic. Jake, were there any specific relationships in your life, friendships, family, where you wish you'd done things differently?
Oh, that's a big one. Yeah, I think I would tell myself to invest more in friendships, to put more time and effort into maintaining them. When I was young, I took friendships for granted. I assumed they'd always be there without much effort. And some of them just faded away, drifted apart.
That's such a common experience. Friendships do require maintenance, regular contact, showing up for people, being emotionally available. And when life gets busy, those things are often the first to slip.
Right. And I had this one really close friend in university. We were inseparable, like genuinely best friends. And after graduation, we both got busy, stopped making the effort, and now we barely talk. And I genuinely mourn that friendship. I miss it.
That's really touching, Jake. And I think a lot of people listening right now can relate to that feeling. There's actually a word for it, nostalgia, that kind of bittersweet longing for something from the past. Bittersweet meaning it's both a little sad and a little good at the same time.
Bittersweet is exactly the right word for it. It doesn't make you feel purely sad. It's more like a warm kind of ache, if that makes sense.
That makes complete sense. A warm ache. I love that. Okay, so I want to share something personal now because I think it's relevant. One of the biggest things I would tell my younger self is to stop seeking validation from other people.
Oh, yes. Say more about that.
So I was someone who really needed external approval. I needed people to tell me I was doing a good job, that I was smart enough, talented enough, likable enough, and it meant that my sense of self-worth was kind of outsourced. Like it depended on what other people thought of me rather than what I thought of myself.
That's really honest of you to share, Emma. And I think that's incredibly common, especially for women, though it affects men too. We're all kind of raised to care deeply about what others think of us.
And there's nothing wrong with caring to some extent. Being socially aware is important. But when it becomes the foundation of your self-esteem, it's really fragile. Because people's opinions change, and they're not always kind, and you can't control them.
Absolutely. Building your confidence from the inside out rather than the outside in, I think that's one of the most important things anyone can do. And honestly, it's a lifelong journey. I'm still working on it.
Me too. I think anyone who says they've completely figured that out is either lying or very enlightened.
Or both, somehow. So, Emma, what about professionally? Are there career choices you do differently?
Great question. I think I would tell younger me to not rush. I was in such a hurry to reach certain milestones, to get the right job, to be successful by a certain age, to tick boxes on this imaginary checklist I had in my head.
Oh, the imaginary checklist. I know that checklist well. By 25, I should have this. By 30, I should have that. And when you don't hit those marks, you feel like a failure, even if you're actually doing really well by any objective measure.
Exactly. And comparison is such a thief. There's that saying, comparison is the thief of joy, meaning when you're always looking at what other people have achieved, you stop appreciating what you have. You're never satisfied.
And social media makes that about 1,000 times worse, doesn't it? Because you're constantly seeing people's highlight reels, just the best moments, the promotions, the weddings, the holidays, and comparing that to your own messy, ordinary, behind-the-scenes life.
So true. A highlight reel is such a good way to put it. Nobody posts about the Monday morning when they spilled coffee on themselves and missed the bus and cried a little in the bathroom.
Nobody. But that's real life. That's most of life, actually. The glamorous moments are the exception, not the rule.
Right. So, Jake, going back to career, do you have any specific professional regrets? Things you wished you'd pursued or not pursued?
Yeah, I think I would tell myself to take more creative risks. I played it really safe early in my career. I chose the stable, predictable path because I was scared of failing publicly, of trying something bold and having people see me fail.
Which is such a human fear. Nobody wants to fail in front of other people. It feels humiliating, deeply embarrassing and shameful.
Right. But the thing is, the risks I eventually did take, the ones that felt terrifying at the time, those ended up being the most defining moments of my career. The things I'm most proud of came from stepping outside my comfort zone.
Stepping outside your comfort zone. That's such an important phrase. Your comfort zone is basically the space where everything feels safe and familiar, and growth almost always happens just beyond that boundary, when you try something that feels a little scary or uncertain.
Perfectly put. And I'd add, the failure that I was so scared of, it happened. I did fail at things, and it wasn't nearly as catastrophic as I'd imagined it would be. Life went on. I learned. I adjusted.
That's such a healthy perspective. I think we catastrophize failure. We imagine it's going to be the end of the world, when actually, failure is usually just a chapter. A difficult chapter, but not the end of the story.
Exactly. And sometimes the failures turn out to be redirections, not dead ends, like a door closing that pushes you toward a different door that turns out to be better.
I love that framing. Okay, let's talk about something that I think is really underrated. And underrated means not appreciated as much as it deserves to be. I'd tell my younger self to take care of her body earlier.
Oh, yes, this one is huge. I definitely took my physical health for granted when I was young. I thought I could eat whatever, sleep whenever, never exercise, and just be fine forever.
Because when you're young, your body does kind of forgive you for a while, and so you get this false sense that it'll always be like that.
And then at some point, your body sends you a very firm memo that says, actually, no.
A strongly worded memo. But it's not just physical health, right? I think mental health is something I would tell my younger self to take much more seriously. Going to therapy, understanding your emotions, building resilience, these are things I didn't really prioritize.
Yeah, I grew up in a household, and I think this is true for a lot of people, where talking about mental health was kind of not done. You just pushed through. You kept going. Showing vulnerability, showing that you were struggling, felt like weakness.
Which is such a damaging idea. Because bottling things up, keeping your emotions inside rather than expressing them, doesn't make them go away. It just means they find other, usually worse ways to come out.
Completely. And therapy, or even just having honest conversations with someone you trust, can be genuinely life-changing. I wish I'd started that journey much earlier.
Same. And I think that connects to something else I'd tell my younger self. Learn to ask for help. I was so stubbornly independent, I thought asking for help meant I was weak or incapable.
I was the same way. There's this cultural idea, especially in a lot of Western cultures, that you should be self-sufficient, that needing help is somehow a failure. But actually, knowing when and how to ask for help is a skill. It's a sign of self-awareness and strength.
Absolutely. Nobody achieves anything truly meaningful completely alone. Behind every success story, there are mentors, supporters, collaborators, people who helped along the way.
And being open to receiving that help, not being too proud to accept it. That's something I had to learn the hard way, through pride and stubbornness leading me to make things much harder than they needed to be.
The hard way tends to be very effective at teaching lessons, even if it's not very pleasant. Okay, Jake, I want to ask you something a little different. Is there anything you would not change? Any mistake you made that you're actually glad happened?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, actually, I'm glad I had my heart broken really badly when I was about 22. That sounds strange, but it genuinely taught me more about myself than almost anything else.
How so? What did it teach you?
It taught me what I actually needed from a relationship versus what I thought I needed. It taught me how to process grief, how to sit with painful emotions instead of running from them. And honestly, it made me a much more empathetic person, more able to understand and share the feelings of others.
That's beautiful. Pain as a teacher. And I think there's something to be said for the fact that if you went back and removed all the hard moments, you'd also remove a lot of the growth that came with them.
Exactly. You can't selectively edit your history. The struggles shaped you just as much as the successes, if not more.
I completely agree. For me, I wouldn't change the period where I was really lost in my mid-20s. I didn't know what I wanted, I felt quite directionless, and it was genuinely uncomfortable, but it forced me to get really honest with myself about what mattered to me.
Those periods of uncertainty, as uncomfortable as they are, often lead to the most significant breakthroughs. A breakthrough being a sudden, important discovery or shift in understanding.
Perfectly explained. And I think that's actually a message worth sending to anyone listening who might be in that uncertain place right now. This feeling of not knowing where you're going isn't permanent. It's usually a sign that something is shifting, that you're growing.
Beautifully said. And you're not alone in feeling that way. Honestly, most adults are figuring it out as they go. Even the ones who look like they have everything together.
Everyone is just making it up as they go, a little bit. Nobody has the full manual.
If someone finds the manual, please let us know. We'd love a copy.
We'll put it in the show notes. Okay, we're getting close to wrapping up, but I want to ask you one final question, Jake. If you had to summarize your advice to your younger self in just one sentence, one single piece of wisdom, what would it be?
Just one sentence, okay. I think I would say, trust the process, be patient with yourself, and know that who you are right now is already enough. I know that's technically 3 things crammed into one sentence.
Very technically 3 sentences, but I'll allow it.
The spirit of it is one thought. Basically, stop being so hard on yourself. You're doing better than you think.
I love that. And for me, I think mine would be brave enough to be yourself, even when it's uncomfortable, because the right people will love you for it. Because I spent so long shrinking myself, making myself smaller, being less so that others felt comfortable, and it cost me a lot.
That's really powerful, Emma. Shrinking yourself, playing yourself down to fit into spaces that were never meant to hold the full version of you. I think a lot of people do that.
So many people. And it's exhausting. Just like you said about fitting in, it takes so much energy to be a smaller version of yourself. It's actually easier in the long run to just be fully you.
Even if it means some people don't like you. And that's okay. Not everyone is supposed to be your person.
Not everyone is supposed to be your person. I love that. What a note to end on. Okay, everyone, that brings us to the end of today's episode. Jake, thank you so much for being so open and honest today. This was a really special conversation.
It really was. Thank you for creating the space for it, Emma. And thank you to everyone listening. We hope something we said today resonated with you or sparked some reflection of your own.
And we'd love to hear from you. What advice would you give to your younger self? Think about it. Write it down. Maybe share it with someone you trust. There's real power in that reflection. Take care of yourselves. Keep learning, keep growing, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.
Bye.